Hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Chris A. Matthews, and you are tuned into the Marriage Underdogs Radio Show podcast. And once again, we have another phenomenal guest. And yes, she is a licensed marriage and family therapist. I would like to introduce you all to Monique Aquino, who is a dear friend of mine, a classmate, who's a phenomenal therapist. How are you doing, Monique?
I'm so well, and I'm excited to be here on your show, Chris. It's
Man, we are glad to have you.
a real blessing to be here.
Yes, we're glad to have you. I know our conversation is going to be so helpful for so many couples that are listening. In our dialogue today, we're going to talk about how couples can avoid distractions and how distractions can be a factor that can lead couples toward divorce. And we don't want that. We want couples that have happy, healthy marriages. So, how do we treat and avoid distractions from getting in the way of you having the relationship not only you want, but the relationship you deserve? This topic is so critical, it's so important because when you have a marriage, I like to think of it as this gravitational pull, and that usually is defined as distractions. There's always something trying to pull you away from your partner. And those distractions don't always necessarily have to be negative. So we're going to talk about distractions, right? And Monique, my first question to you is just share with the audience, share with the listeners about the different type of distractions you've seen couples bring into your office that operate as a catalyst that's attempting to pull them apart.
um, Thank you, Chris. Yes, so I will talk about distractions. Deb, you are absolutely right. There is a lot of distractions when couples walk in the door, and it probably has been a lot of distractions for a number, even several years. Sometimes the average is like 6 years. Yes, but of real just conflict going on before you even walk in the door.
Mhm.
So, and we were talking about distractions, that internal distractions,
Mhm.
and those internal distractions are what are you bringing in to the room, um, subconsciously, perhaps. What you're bringing in from your family of origin. What are things that you saw growing up that were normalized to you, and now you are then performing these patterns of behavior in your current marriage, not knowing that is creating tension and conflict. So there's the internal set of distractions.
And and that's so important you mentioned that because your partner doesn't know what they don't know. So if you were in a relationship and the person cheated on you before you were in your current relationship, your prior partner cheated, then you're gonna have a tendency potentially to see the current relationship through that same lens as the old relationship unless you've done that work first. So I'm glad you're mentioning internal distractions. And the most common distraction that people tend to look at are external distractions, right? Talk to us about external distractions.
External distractions. Well, this to me so much from the way society has pressured us into thinking that certain things are important to kind of distract us from what really is important. So whether it is the distraction, external distractions, stresses at work,
Mhm.
stresses with outside family members, conflict with friends, conflict, just what are those outs? So the way I think of a couple is like we're this bubble, and we're like fighting the squirrel together. I like you've seen those bubbles toys where kids like battle and there's like a kid in the middle and he's swimming. So that's my picture. I'm like, but it's a couple, and they're like battling the world together. But sometimes there's space created, and all of a sudden there's two bubbles, and they're not in the same bubble, right? And it's because of these external distractions that can come from all these outside things that are happening to us.
We're not usually that important, right? Like you mentioned before the call, phones and technology. Talk about that because I know people listening have been frustrated with their partner on their phone or on social media. You're trying to connect.
Ah, Dude, I'm down on my soapbox. Technology. You know, it's such a blessing and a curse. Um, so I think with technology and the distraction of it is, well, there's a foundational reason for it that I think is really hurting relationships. And our brain was not created to take in this kind of stimulation. Stimulation. And usually with evolution we evolve over time. But with technology it was like we didn't have instant gratification for a long time, and then bam, it was like overnight, all of a sudden we have all of these things, like access to all of these things like right away. And so I want to get this thing from Amazon. I'm gonna press a button, it's gonna be there tomorrow.
Right.
Well, that took. Don't want to see this show, I'm gonna press a button, I'm gonna see it right away. And so I think external distractions is huge because the way technology is finally shaping us and changing us is it's kind of creating this addiction to dopamine that we don't even know, because we're just having these constant like hits of instant gratification. And then and it takes us away and it distracts us externally to what's important. So instead of tending to our marriage or maybe even our children or our home, we're on our phone on tapping away.
And the external distraction becomes more important than the person right in front of you. And that bleeds into the third type of distraction, interruptions, right? Because we've now allowed our external distractions to have a place or a seat in our relationship. And when we give them a seat at the table, they divert into interruptions where they're present whenever they want to be present. So talk about interruptions. And then we also have healthy interruptions too. If you are a parent, I know Monique, you're a parent, I'm a parent. So I want you to share more about interruptions and how they can be distractions as well. And you may have healthy interruptions and you have negative interruptions. So tell us about the negative interruptions and the positive interruptions.
Okay. Next. I am a parent to a 7-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter, so interruptions is like my no name. Yes, I can't even get a conversation, and so thank God to my mom for taking care of my babies so I can have a life. But so yes, interruptions. I think, you know, the research shows that there is a huge decrease in satisfaction um in marriage after you have a baby. So I think it's
67% reduction in satisfaction when having a baby. And then 2 in 18 months.
Yes. Yes. So it is major. It is an issue. And you're not alone. Then part of that comes to interruptions of just going from 2 to 3, going from a couple to having somebody else, and somebody else needs you constantly. It needs to be fed, needs to be changed diaper, needs your attention. So there's just some interruptions in that way. And you know, they're not negative, they're wonderful because you're raising a human. So it's a beautiful interruption, but at the same time, it's hard because it might distract you from um we're focusing on, yeah, connecting in your marriage and your relationship, because you're stuck in the survival mode, where you have created this beautiful life and now you're sleep deprived, maybe just functioning on caffeine alone, you're not pouring from a full cup, and then you're constantly distracted, and it's just so the overstimulation is real.
Yeah, and then another thing too, what makes you um so special in terms of doing the therapy, you're not only presenting your clinical experience and your research and your training, but you as a mother, you as a spouse can empathize with your clients that come in with these interruptions because you also have to manage them yourself. And the last type of distraction that's very common are triggers. And we usually look at these triggers as moments in which you become defensive as a partner, or there could be an accusation or some type of thought or feeling. So they bleed heavily with internal distractions, but what makes a trigger different is that they come out of nowhere. You could be on a date night with your partner and your husband turns the other way, you're triggered. You think he's looking at the girl that came in the door. Or there could be a trigger because your steak wasn't cooked right. And that distraction can disrupt the entire evening. So, talk about now as we transition the conversation toward what couples can actually do to help manage these distractions so it doesn't pull them apart. And I want to hear from you, Monique, to share just some tidbits and tools that you may work with your couples on to reduce distraction so it doesn't tear them apart.
Okay. Um, do you want me to tap a little bit of my triggers first, or you just want me to jump right into?
I'm moving so quick. You can talk about triggers, or you can jump in. I'll let you call.
Okay. Um, so I'll finish off with triggers. And I couldn't agree with you more, Chris, that triggers do happen in a relationship. Um, and and it can happen for a variety of reasons. It can happen because of the interruptions that are there. So you're already overstimulated and then something happens and then bam, you're triggered by it. It can also be related to what we were discussing earlier, the internal distractions, those subconscious family of origin wounds that are still there, maybe past relationship wounds that are still there. That something will happen, like you said, you're at a restaurant, you're in a lovely restaurant with your husband, and he glances over, and he's probably innocent, just maybe looking, glancing. What you take that as, oh, he's looking at that beautiful girl, and here I am, my postpartum body, I still got my mom couch, and again, you can feel really self-conscious, and it's a trigger immediately. And then immediately you're just kind of closed off, don't really want to be vulnerable and have this moment, and then it's a missed opportunity for connection. Because that date that was intended to give you some time with your partner that's already so um unique, really, to have that moment when you have kids.
So, Monique, you just said something that was so enlightening, and I want to pause for a second and bring it back up. You mentioned how when you experience a distraction or trigger and you don't communicate with your partner your experience, that's a lost opportunity for connection. And I wanted to recite that again because a lot of times couples will see a problem or issue as just a pure negative, something that can't be transitioned or reframed into a positive. So talk about that. How do couples transition distractions, transition these perceived negatives into positives, or what you just called an opportunity for connection? Because that was the
Oh, I can thank you. Yes, I mean, I think anytime there's a feeling in your stomach where it's telling you like there's something in the right here, I think that you can do two things. You can shut down, right, and keep that to yourself, and creates that missed opportunity. Why? I guess you could do multiple things. So you could shut down, you can react and get aggressive, like, no, don't do the girls. Then there's multiple ways that you can react, but it's whether you turn on your sympathetic nervous system and fight, or you turn it on in a manner in which you shut down. Either way, it's a missed opportunity. Um, so the way that you the key thing here is communication. And when you feel that in your body, that emotion, that sensation that something has not arrived, to be able to first identify what it is that's going on, um, which seems like a very easy thing, but it's really not. And then the second thing is to be able to put words to what's happening. And to be able to share that with your partner so that they can understand and empathize with what's going on, right? So, sharing, like, let's go with that same example, that real example of your honey looking at that hottie over there, um, where you can say, like, my feelings are so hurt, and just start with being vulnerable and sharing how you feel. Like, I know they like, you don't agree, you've told me a million times that I'm beautiful the way I am, but I don't feel that right now. And when you looked over there, even for a second, which maybe, I don't know if you've meant anything light or not, but I sure made me feel terrible, made me feel unwanted and ugly and undesired. And I need to tell you that, you know? Um,
And the way you just presented the emotions, let's break this down because obviously, we're both counselors trained, but you did it in a non-attacking manner. You're not attacking the partner because you kept it within the lines of this is my experience, this is how I feel, and I'm communicating that to you. And as a man, as a male partner, we instantly go toward wanting to fix or wanting to defend. But if you're a male or a man listening, be mindful that when your female partner presents something to you, it may not always be something you have to fix in the moment. It may be her just needing you to be invited into her world. So giving your partner the space to share with you their experiences. And I love Brene Brown. She gives the 4 steps. The first one is make sure that you allow your partner to have their own thoughts and feelings. In other words, you don't have to dictate or control. Then when they provide those feelings to you, stay out of judgment. And then the third one is find the emotion within the partner. And then the fourth one is communicate that emotion back to them. Right. And when doing that, you're able to not miss the opportunity, like you said, Monique. You're able to allow that opportunity to flourish and grow to pull you closer in. And I always share with couples, be mindful of this one thing. It's so helpful. Listening doesn't have to equal consent. Just because you're listening to your partner doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying. It's their experience. Allow it to stay theirs. It doesn't have to automatically become yours just because they're presenting that information to you. I think that's so helpful, Monique. That's why we want you to slow down and go back to that, right? Not missing the opportunity for connection.
yeah. And the moment to handle that is right that you're talking about Brene Brown and her, well, where she's like the guru of empathy.
Yeah, right. For that connection, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, taking that moment to connect and to hear each other, it's so interesting because it sounds really intuitive, but conflict, if used correct, is a beautiful thing. It's a way for you to have a conversation and connect on a deeper level if you take that opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's really the main theme that I'm hearing in this, right? Like you're gonna have distractions in your relationship. You're gonna have things that are attempting to pull you apart. But when you don't miss the opportunity to slow down, express what you're experiencing and how you feel, then you're creating a space to actually use what's trying to pull you apart to pull you closer. So using what's attempting to pull you apart as something that can actually pull you closer.
Absolutely. Yes. Love it.
Man, that was awesome. Monique, I just want to give you space as well because I know prior to the show you mentioned that there are specific tools in general you've used. As we close out, I want to make sure you still have that space to share that tool or the tools you use when working with couples to pull them together.
Sure. Yes, definitely. Well, I mean, there's a variety of tools that I use. It kind of just depends on the couples I'm working with and what I feel in my stomach is right for you. But there are times that I pull a lot with Dr. John and Julie Gottman, and I think I have a passion for them, probably primarily because of John's uh, 30 years in research and of course,
90% accuracy rate of predicting more. Yeah, that's pretty.
yeah, it's pretty deep. And of course, you know why I have a big passion for science. I'm so very science based on how I started.
Mhm.
So I do tend to lean sometimes on these evidence-based practices out there. And one tool that I love to use is when John and Julie got that like touch on and look at and talk about the 6 magical hours. Um, where
The 6 magical hours? Yeah, share with me about that.
yeah, so well, first off, I'll share that when I introduce it very gently because a lot of the couples I work with are new parents or parents with young kids. So anytime I introduce anything like homework or something that's going to take more time, I try to do it really gently because you're already in survival mode. The last thing you need is completely shift something and do more homework, right? So, what I like about the 6 magical hours is that it breaks it up into tiny things that you can do to visualize moments of connection. So, talking about distractions, he's got all these distractions connected. Just imagine this clear plastic ball and you and your partner inside and you've got all these distractions come at you. What if you can also strengthen from within and visualize connection from within? And all those distractions can come at you because you're going to be strong regardless. Um, so that's what I try to teach couples is to visualize those moments at home. And when going to
Present too, it sounds like.
yes, being present, which is really tough to do with the littles. I mean, I know I was there. I still am there. Um, so I do like it because it breaks it up. So there's of course partings. He talks about partings and the importance of partings. And when you go to work in the morning, just real quick, 2 minutes, you meet your partner. Hey, this is what's going down. This is when I'll be home. Love you, maybe a little kiss, hug. Something real quick.
So like the check-in and check-out, like the greeting and the departure, the check-in, the check-out. So it sounds like it's a tool that couples can use and implement organically throughout their daily interactions, and it's not overwhelming or too heavy.
Exactly. And the reason why I like to share, so there's multiple parts to it. There's a couple more, but you're absolutely right. There's partings and reunion. Reunion is a little longer. It's 20 minutes. But I always like to highlight to my couples that with those two parts of the 6 magical hours, they most likely are probably already doing them, which I think is also to highlight the things that they're already doing well. Like, probably already doing this. Like, this is not even extra work for you guys, so hooray!
And I want to notate that one of the things that couples automatically think about with therapy is, oh man, I'm gonna be in an environment where someone judging me, telling me all things I'm doing wrong, all things I need to change. But you took a strength-based approach. You're also gonna be
Mhm.
helping couples acknowledge all the things they're doing right too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to know and to highlight those things. Appreciation is another part of the tool that you should be doing at least 5 minutes per minute.
Say that one again.
Appreciation.
Appreciations.
And it's interesting because appreciations is typically the one that's missing.
Mhm.
And it's so easy to do. And I think that's when it's missing because when we're stuck in survival mode and when we've been sleep deprived and when we're barely functioning as humans, leaking from every orifice, like, let's just be honest,
Right.
it's real. Um, the last thing we want to do is be like, "Oh, baby, thanks for taking out the trash." Like, we may want to say it at that point, "You better take out the trash." But, it goes to show that those tiny moments of communication are super important, and they might seem small,
Mm.
um, but it's important because it's an opportunity to make your partner feel seen. And when you hear those appreciations also, you feel seen. You feel appreciated for your hard work.
And,
Like,
and Monique, but I'm catching something from you because it sounds like what you're saying is when we take time to acknowledge small moments that we're appreciative of, it can work to strengthen the relationship immune system, right? Because when you think about your immunity, it's there to ward off attacks. So if distractions are a type of relationship attack, if we're enabling ourselves to be more mindful, to exhibit appreciation for our partner, we're strengthening the immune or support system of the relationship. So when those attacks come about, we're going to be more equipped to battle them off because we've made everything else around us in the relationship increased in terms of value, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those antibodies are going to come back fighting.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So
It's like vitamin C, appreciation like the vitamin is a relationship.
it is, and it's such an easy thing to do, you know? And I think that's the part that the big takeaway in there, like to tell my parents that are really struggling for time, is don't worry, this doesn't take too much time. You can actually just 5 minutes, and it let you things happen in the conversation that you're already doing. It's just tweaking it just a little, you know?
It's easy. It's something that people can do instantly and not have to, pick up a book to read about, and you're navigating or directing them toward that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And then
man.
the last two, well, of course, is affection.
Okay.
Affection is always, yeah, 5 minutes of affection. And what I like to talk about this is in my couples is it doesn't have to be like a PDA makeout session. Like it's okay to be touched out. Because the reality is in that season you might be overstimulated and touched out, and that's okay. So it's trying to find moments and how to connect, like let's sit next to each other on the couch rather than the polar opposite side. Let's on the thing and then let's touch our feet. Let's touch our legs. Let's hold hands when we're going on a walk. It can be very small changes.
And just to speak to the husbands,
Impacts.
and to speak to the husbands, when your wife exhibits small levels of touch or affection, that doesn't always mean you have to take it toward having sex, right? It could just be the small touch or affection, right? Let me make sure all the men out there hear that.
Yes, but those small things might build up.
Right. It might lead to it, but it doesn't always mean that's the back call for you to be able to just have sex immediately, right? It might slow down there.
Yes. That's so true. So yes, there's affection, which is 5 minutes a day, doable. And then there's the one that I treat very gently is the 2-hour date night. Because I'm going to be real honest. I know like research might say with that is doable. But, for a lot of our couples that are young parents, there already is so much anxiety, financial anxiety around the cost of having children, daycare, all these number of things. That when I present this, I want them to know that it's flexible. You can get super creative. You don't have to go and spend a bunch of money on a date to be romantic. You can change it up at the house. You do a little bubble bath and you do wine in the bath. You do a little fire. You can get creative at the house, spending no money and not having to get daycare. Of course, maybe the kids are asleep.
Right.
And trying to make it realistic for couples to find moments of connection. And maybe not 2 hours on a Friday. Make it 30 minutes every single night when the kids go down.
Too. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That be more valuable. And it's
Absolutely. And it's free. And I'm not saying, I think there is value to going out on a date and, having somebody watch your children. I think there's value to that. But I'm also realistic and I don't ever want my couples to feel defeated in something that seems so unsurmountable at the time. That's like, that's not doable. So we're just gonna stay disconnected. I don't ever want couples to feel that way.
And so I love that you mentioned that too. Just I can feel just the empathy in that, where you're joining in that system and you're being mindful that not everything is going to work for everybody. So when you look at social media, it's all this date night. And some people may just hear that as, I don't have the money for it. So your marriage isn't doomed. You're not behind because you don't have at the time all the resources to go out and have a date. What Monique, you're saying is you can do that 30 minutes a night. You can have opportunities at home that are free that are going to equate to the value of going out on a 2-hour date.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the name of the game is intentionality. Yeah, I know you talk a lot about intent. And I think that's really the name of the game there. And the last tool of those 6 hours is the State of the Union, which I do think is an important conversation. It's a check-in conversation, 1 hour that happens. And what I often find, again, a strength-based approach, is a lot of couples are having a sort of check-in. Like the check-in that they've got going on is logistics. Okay, who's doing the pickups? What doctor's appointments do we have going on? The important stuff, which is important in that season of life. What I think is missed is the relational check-in. How are we doing? What did we do well last week? Or when we had that conflict earlier this week, or John and I would say that the growth instance, that situation in which I acted in a regrettable way. Let's talk about that again. Let's want to be sure that it feels resolved. That I told you, we can talk through what we were going to do better next time. What can I can agree to do better next time? And of course, your partner did the same. And then the last question, that which I think is so important is communicating. Can you love me next week? What can you do that will make me feel loved? Which doesn't necessarily have to mean sex. It could be like, hey, babe, I want you to initiate more. I feel like I've been initiating for a long time, and it would be so awesome to just initiate this week. Well, all right. Thank you for giving me the outline.
The low-hanging fruit, right? Yeah.
Well, it could be something totally different. It could be something like, babe, if this weekend we could get together and knock out cleaning the garage, gosh, that would, show me, that would really make me feel loved.
Mm.
So having those deeper level conversations to check in on how you're doing in the relationship is super important. And I think, again, the positive is I think some couples are having these conversations, just kind of like enhancing it so that you can be more effective with the little time that you have already.
Right. I'm just thinking about all the amazing gems and nuggets you've blessed us with today, right? When you look at breaking down the common types of distractions, one of the messages I don't want to go missed is the ability to give your partner grace. I know you spoke about working with a lot of couples who recently have children or have young children. And I love that you implemented Gottman's 6 hours because those are practical skills and tools that partners can apply and it be a part of their daily, weekly, monthly, annual interactions. It doesn't have to be some secondary component. It can be a primary way of just how you guys are acting and treating each other. That template is so valuable. And we also talked about how when you apply these daily interactions, it strengthens the immunity, it strengthens the relationship. So when distractions or things do come about, you'll have a higher chance of not allowing them to tear down the relationship, right? And Monique, I know we're at time, but I really do believe you will continue to bless so many couples with this interview. And more importantly, the couples that are listening, that are in the area, that are seeking out a therapist, a counselor that specializes in working with relationships, that has the experience that you have, the knowledge, the training, and more importantly, just the ability to connect and be yourself, right? Like from this interview, this call, it's easy to feel that you're just being you, right? And that authenticity is what I believe is going to really help people connect with you so you can actually be the light that they're looking for at the end of the tunnel when it comes to growing, repairing, and rebuilding the relationship. So I just want to thank you for your time coming on. And it's just a blessing to have been able to reconnect with you. I know, man, we graduated going on 10 years, so it's been a while. Definitely. Any last words you'd want to share with the couples that are listening before we end?
Just the last words is well, that there's lots of things that you can do to improve your situation and elevate to a new level. Um, would be lost words. And I guess while I have the floor, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you so much for collaborating and to have this discussion. It's been such a joy and pleasure to watch you grow also from our program. I mean, if you guys could see Chris back then, he is such an innovator and creative to the core, such a pro. And it's been so beautiful to watch you blossom. And I mean, Chris is all over, guest speaking. He started when I knew him, but when I knew you back in Aspire, you already had this incredible business going with the DWI program, and just a wealth of knowledge. And it's just been so cool to see you develop, and then to be here today is kind of full circle to just collaborate and get to be a part of what you've created. The underdogs marriage radio show. It's so cool. So thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure. And yeah, and for those that are looking for therapy, again, I just opened. So feel free to check us out. Elevate Life Solutions PLLC. Our website is www.elevatelife.solutions.net. And we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, Psychology Today. So just check us out, like, follow, share. I do 15-minute free consultations too. So if you are interested, give me a call, and I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Definitely. And we'll make sure we put all that in the show notes as well. And once again, if you're looking for a counselor, Monique is taking new clients. Monique, once again, bless and thank you for all the amazing things you shared about myself and business. We were glad to have you. You definitely were a blessing today. For those that are listening, we launch new episodes every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll also once again put all the information for Monique in the show notes, and please share this episode. We look forward to delivering new content next Tuesday, and thank you for taking the time to tune into the Marriage Dogs radio show. And once again, I'm your host, Chris A. Matthews.